Hi, I'm Miriam, and I took care of my mom when she had dementia. I'm going to talk to you today about behavioral changes that you may be noticing in your dementia loved one. Have you noticed they have started getting angry or frustrated or anxious? Just something that's not really been a normal character quality for them. Well, what I want to do today is just share with you some of the triggers and the causes that might make them have these types of reactions to you. And along with that, I'll be sharing some suggestions that are really simple that hopefully will help you get through these episodes easier or maybe not even have one of these situations, and that would be great. But first, what do you normally think of when you hear the term dementia? Memory loss, right? That's the first thing we think of. But truly, what dementia is brain failure. If you think about dementia as equal to brain failure, where their brain's actually shrinking and it's dying and they have no control over it, then that will help you have more patience with them. And it will help you understand them a little bit easier as you put yourself in their shoes to try and figure out where these attitudes are coming from. So just keep that in mind. Dementia equals brain failure. Okay, the first issue we're going to be talking about is sundowning. And I'm going to try and get through these as quickly as possible because I want to fit them all in. These are like the top 5 issues that people deal with that I hear about on the platforms I'm on most of the time. So sundowning is an issue, and that's simply when the sun's going down, your dementia loved one starts to get panicky. Sometimes they start pacing or they just get anxious. And that's because as the sun goes down, you look around the room and what happens and what changes? Shadows start happening. And shadows can be very scary to a dementia loved one, just like they were to you when you were little. They just get scared of them. So the simple solution is make sure that the room they are in is as well lit as possible. Just keep it flooded with light. Another thing you can do with them is about 30 minutes before their incidence of sundowning starts to happen, because you kind of know when it is, you get the general idea of when it's going to happen, start an activity with them. Be in an intentional activity with your dementia loved one so that they're not noticing as much and they're not as aware that the evening is coming on. So that will help you too if you have intentional activities with them. A lot of times it happens during the time you're trying to get dinner ready. So just even sit them at a table, and at the table put a stack of photos and just have them look through them and just ask them to organize them for you even. Just something simple like that. And if you want to go on YouTube, there are a lot of places that you can find activities for dementia loved ones. Okay, the second thing we're going to talk about is showering. And oh my goodness, showering can be a nightmare. Why? Let me give you some of the reasons. Your loved one goes in there and they're cold, and that makes them miserable. So the easy solution to that is get that bathroom as warm as you possibly can. I mean, like hot, steamy warm before they even go in there, and that's going to make them more comfortable. You're also going to be dealing with a dignity issue. So what can you do for that? Take a towel and drape it over their shoulders and drape a towel over their private areas to give them as much dignity as possible. Sometimes even the water can trigger a reaction because it might be hurting their skin, and so they start shoving away from it and trying to get away from it. Remember, they may not have words anymore, and what they're trying to do is communicate to you, something is wrong, do something for me. But they can't tell you that. So keep putting yourself in their shoes all the time, trying to think through, why is it that they're acting this way? They're not being stubborn. Most of the time, sometimes maybe they are, but most of the time, they're not being stubborn. They just want you to understand that there's something wrong and they need you to fix it. And also keep in mind, even though they can't speak words, they can still feel emotions. And they can have the emotion of what's going on with them, and they can also feel that emotion of how you're reacting to them. I'm going to share with you a video by Teepa Snow. Teepa is an amazing lady that has worked with dementia loved ones for years, and she's got some great videos on YouTube, and I love especially her videos on helping your loved one to shower. And I'm going to drop a link down in the description area so that you can go and watch her video on showering. showering. And what she does is she kind of does a role play with it. So it makes it really simple to understand. And I think she's going to help you a lot with that showering issue. A third issue that our dementia loved ones deal with that may cause them to pace, and oh my goodness, I hear about pacing all the time. They're bored. That's why they pace. They are simply bored. What can you do? Exercise with them. There's tons of videos out there about chair exercises, and you can do it together. Just get them moving and get them exercising, and that will help them not to be bored, and it will help reduce that pacing. And if you possibly can, get them outside in the sunshine. That does them and you a world of good. So just keep some intentional activities going with them, and that's going to really help with that boredom and with that pacing. Okay, the fourth issue is this: not wanting to eat. Your loved one may just push the food away or just turn their head away, and you're just going, what is going on? I've cooked this meal. They don't want to eat it. Okay, just think it through. Sit back and just think it through. Have they had a choking episode? Because if they've had a choking episode, they're going to remember that feeling. They can't verbalize it to you, but they're going to remember that feeling. And I will tell you, water is one of the biggest things that can cause him to choke. So you may have to, as the disease progresses, thicken that water so it will not choke them as easily as it does now. Another thing is keep in mind that their chewing ability is going to slow down. I know you will start with like small pieces of food cut up. You may have to progress to having them eat pureed food even. So keep all of that in mind when they're just kind of refusing to eat food. Another big thing that happens is their eyesight is changing. We have peripheral vision, and they used to have peripheral vision, but as this disease progresses, it's coming in like this, y'all. It's going to come and it's going to become tunnel vision. They're going to have a very short little depth perception, and they can't see their food well anymore. So that's one reason that they don't eat. They can't even see it. If they're looking this way and they have tunnel vision, they can't even see that there's a plate of food down here. That's why you will see some older people with their heads way down like this in their food. It's because they can't see it if they're looking like this. They can't just see it like this. They have to go all the way down. So keep that in mind too. And to make it easier on them to see the food, always put like a contrasting plate underneath whatever the food color is. Like if you have white potatoes, then put a red plate under it, or just something that contrasts so that they can see the food easier. And hopefully that will encourage them to eat more. Okay, the fifth thing is this: changing their adult brief or helping them with their pull-up. That can be a real battle. Again, what are we dealing with? Dignity. This is dealing with their private areas, and it's just horrible for them, honestly. I think the most I ever saw my mom frustrated was when I was with her in the bathroom doing things with her there. She would get extremely frustrated. I remember one time specifically, she was so frustrated, and I felt so sorry for her. So anything we can do to alleviate that, please do that. First of all, when you're getting ready to change them, if they have an adult diaper on, make sure everything's already laid out, that you don't have to go scrambling for stuff. Have everything ready to go so that when you're ready to change them, you can make it happen as quickly as possible. And while you're changing them, keep a conversation going with them. Like a dentist does with you when they're drilling in your mouth. Just keep that conversation going. The dentist will just yap, 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 yap all the time. Well, because he's trying to get your mind off of what's going on. Do that with your dementia loved one when you're changing their adult brief, and that might help you also. Another thing I'm going to recommend, of course, is to please use the NorthShore MegaMax. Their adult briefs can go up to 12 hours without having to be changed, and so what's that mean? That means that instead of you changing an adult brief 4 or 5 times a day, you maybe can get by with just doing it a couple of times a day or 3 times a day at the most. So please look them up on NorthShore.com, and while you're there on that website, look at their resources. They're a great place for resources also. I hope that some of these tips that I've given you and suggestions to help you get through these behavior changes help you and your loved one have a more peaceful home. And I hope that you have a great week.